5-second board. Anyway, one rider tried to go too early. That was Frossard or Van Hoorbeek, I think, up the inside on the Kawasaki. But look at that. Jeffrey Hurling sweeping around the outside on the 111 Red Bull KTM. And is that his teammate there as well? It's Marvin Musquin and Hurlings. And then, I was watching that off that first jump in the Veterans race. And very deep straight away coming out of turn 2 into turn 3. So only smooth going around the first corner. But look at this, Marvin Musquin doing what he did yesterday. Was Petr Petrov, the Bulgarian rider, going down through turn 3. So he's got a lot of work to do on that SRS Honda. But there's Marvin Musquin trying to break away. But David, you think that with Jeffrey Hurlings behind him, it's going to be not so easy for him to do that?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough. I think the beginning of the race is not really important. It's a long race, and they have to stay smooth and not do too many mistakes out there.
Well, as they come over the line, it is Marvin Musquin from Jeffrey Hurling, Joel Roulance on the KTM there in third position, Harry Kulas on the Monster Energy, Richie Yamaha on the Garibaldi Yamaha, sorry, down in fourth. Kromhoff is fifth, Simpson is down in sixth, Ericsson just behind his teammate Jake Nichols. Jake Nichols on the HM Plant Red Bull KTM down in seventh position, Alex Ericsson in eighth, Roxon ninth on the Tech Europe Suzuki, Arnold Tonus is 10th. Valentin Tenier 11th, Alessandro Lupino 12th, Mel Pocock 13th, Larson 14th, Coldenhoff, Caro, Van Hoorbeek down there in 17th place, Jose Boutron, Zach Osborne and Stephen Frossard just inside the top 20 as we go on board with Valentin Tenier. And look how bumpy it is around here. The old track used to go around the trees here, but instead now it continues through this long sweeper. And then we have the Rebootizer double jump just there in the background, catching one or two riders out yesterday. But the KTMs and all the rest of the bikes out there dancing around through this tough Lommel sand here. David, you rode here, I think, in the past, but never a Grand Prix, I believe.
No, I never raced here, actually. I rode a lot to train for all those 10 races, and it was tough for a French guy to from south of France to race on those conditions, and it was really impressive last year that Marvin won both motos.
He's going down. Is this Frossard? Oh no, Tonus was down and Roxon runs over the back of him. Oh, and Roxon went down as well. So I think we've possibly got, or is that Caro? Might be Mattis Caro actually. So tough luck there then for the MVRD Racing Suzuki rider. Sorry to cut over you there, David, but as you can see, Jeffrey Hurlings.
We can see, I think that right now it's a tough race. We got a starter in the front and then ride for 20 minutes and see where they are, because you cannot go out there and go wide open right away. The track is way too difficult for that.
Yeah, and the conditions, it's not that hot. It's about 20 degrees, but it's quite sticky, quite humid, isn't it? And obviously the riders will be taking that into consideration. Here we are heading down the start straight. It's a lot wider this year. Last year, remember, it went through 180-degree left-hand turn, but very wide, very open through 90. A couple of waves here, all the way to the second corner. Very, very smooth indeed. But then as the riders come over this next small tabletop on the turn here, suddenly it just goes from heaven to hell, because it gets choppy, a lot of holes. You can see the riders suddenly bouncing all over the place, and they just wonder what hit them there. And obviously the riders used to going around there, in a one-on-one scenario, but Marvin Musquin, the back end of that KTM, dancing around there. But suddenly 40 riders going through there together gets a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, plus like the third turn is really, really tight, and maybe some crashes out there. And you can see that new double is actually pretty fun. We saw Marvin crash yesterday in qualification. Yeah,
we're going to talk about that, because actually that double jump is only about 18 meters apart, but it's almost reminiscent of the old double jump for those who were at the Hawkstone Park Grand Prix in the 500 days at 1984. Probably not as long as that, but certainly it was very daunting. Eventually they had to take about a meter off the top because the landing was getting pretty dodgy yesterday with the holes on the takeoff, and as you said, David, quite rightly so, Marvin Musquin, 2 laps to go, crashing there while he was holding a comfortable third position. But we've seen this from Marvin Musquin before, haven't we, in the qualifying heat, definitely since the Netherlands, where he crashed trying to retake Ken Roxon for the qualifying race win. He's happy to ride up front for a few laps, and then when Roxon came by him, he wasn't going to challenge him. When Hurlings caught and passed him, heavy landing there as well, he wasn't too bothered about chasing after his teammate. But come race day, Marvin Musquin, a different rider altogether. He means business on race day.
Yeah, I think he regrouped well. I think yesterday the qualification is not really important. It's not like the old days of Fox Hill track, where the gate position is really important. Yeah, we see the landing on the front end in the soft sand is not really good. You need to keep on the real wheel and your butt on
on the back
on the
end.
fender, basically.
But look how quick he was to get back on the gas, and that's coming out of turn 2 when the riders come off the smooth over that first jump and then landing all that heavy stuff. As you said, he landed front heavy on the front end. There's Ken Roczen.
Yeah, Ken Roczen is charging a lot in the beginning of the moto, and we have to see towards the end if he still have some fitness left, you know, to go get Erlings and Musquin.
Yeah, he just gone past Joel Roulance there, number 34 on the Star JM Racing KTM. But I spoke to Ken Roczen just about 40 minutes or so before the start of this MX-2 race. He was feeling confident, he was ready, he said, to take a victory, and I guess he means a Grand Prix victory, because he's yet to win a Grand Prix this year. Marvin has won, what, 7 GPs? Herlings has won a couple, Brossard's won one, and Ken Roczen yet to win a Grand Prix overall this year, so he needs to start doing that to close down if he's got any chance of lifting the title at the end of the year, but it's not going to be easy for him.
Yeah, I think Ken was consistent at the beginning of the year, but he wasn't as fast, and he got a couple of mechanicals, and he could have won last weekend, but last race, but you know, broke his bike.
Yeah. Well, there is Ken Roczen on that Tech Europe Suzuki, currently sitting there in 4th position now, because he has found a way past Joel Roulance. The man ahead of him, number 11 on the Red Bull KTM, Sean Simpson, who had a good qualification race yesterday. He caught Marvin Musquin after Musquin crashed on the double jump, and with a lap and a half to go, Simpson actually went by Musquin, who retook him before the one lap board, and then halfway around the final lap, the two went bar to bar with about 4 corners to go, and it was Simpson who came out the better of the 2 Red Bull riders. But as we said, Marvin Musquin at that stage really didn't want to get involved with anybody, and as we say, a completely different rider. But Ken Roczen, lap time last time around for him 2:08 compared to the 2:07 and the 2:06 of Herlings. So Musquin 2:07.1, 2:06 for Herlings. Simpson was a 2:08, 2:10 for Roczen. So you can see already the gap coming down between the Suzuki rider and the KTM riders, the 2 guys there in shot.
Yeah, I think Ken is in traffic a little bit, and we have to see when he gets to 3rd place. I think he's going to pass Simpson pretty quick.
Yeah.
And still like over 27 minutes to go. It's like it's a lap time on this track. You know?
Yeah. But did you see the sweeping corner coming around that cafe turn a moment ago? Ken Roczen just cutting through. I don't know, we have a new race leader. So Herlings has found his way past Marvin Musquin just while we were concentrating on the battle between Simpson and Ken Roczen. And so suddenly, Jeffrey Herlings is in the driving seat here. Actually, yesterday, he only started in about 8th or 9th position. Here we see it, round the outside, Marvin Musquin trying to go for the inside, protect that inside. But Herlings on the gas, the bumps are a little bit wider apart. He's able to carry that momentum, but look at that, Marvin Musquin was going to take him wide there.
It's textbook right there, you know, like stay on top of the bumps, you know, keep the momentum, and you don't want to go on the inside too much in the sand, you know, you want to keep your momentum, go wide, stay on the pegs, exactly what Jeffrey did.
Yeah, and I say, here's that double jump. Doesn't look anything from there, does it? When you actually go down, stand down there, it's a little bit bigger. There was some sketchy moments there in practice.
And the hole is really deep in the middle. And but you know, they groomed the track, the takeoff, and I think towards the end of the moto, it might be a little more sketchy.
Yeah, because I was watching their MX-1 yesterday afternoon as well. Again, some of the MX-1 riders not able to get all the way over that, because if you have the slightest kick with the rear end of the bike as you approach that, you have to back off, because otherwise it can all end in tears, and it did actually for Mark Deruva yesterday.
Yeah, I think the takeoff has a lot of ruts in it, and then he gets like a little hole in the front, and so there's like a double takeoff type thing, and we saw a lot of crashes yesterday.
Yeah. Well, there's Jeffrey Herlings already starting to open up a bit of a gap there. You see Marvin Musquin just in the background. It was Marvin Musquin who took everybody by storm here last year. Obviously, we know that he switched teams during the middle of the season, but when he arrived here, nobody expected him to pick up 2 race wins, especially after his performance in Valkenswaard in 2009. But he did. He surprised everybody, but certainly not surprised by this kid here, are we? After what he did in Valkenswaard, what he did in Latvia a couple of weeks ago as well.
Yeah, I think Jeffrey is a great sign rider, a great rider for 15 years old. And I think his fitness is not up to par. You cannot train a 15-year-old kid like you can as a 20-year-old. You know, I think his strategy is to go fast in the beginning, take a gap, and maybe manage the lead towards the end. I think Marvin might be a little stronger towards the end. I think Jeffrey needs to take off right now and get a little gap.
Purple screen on the timing thing there. Jeffrey Herlings, 2:05, fastest lap of the moto. He does it on lap 4. All the previous fastest laps were done on the first lap or thereabouts. Ken Roxon, though, he's on the charge because he's currently lapping almost a second quicker than Marvin Musquin. And it's Hurlings who leads from Marvin Musquin. Roxon third, Simpson 4, Roulants 5, Harry Kulas. Good go-kart driver as well, actually, because there was his team and all the Monster Energy guys, they had a big do over in the go-kart thing just across here on Friday. And he won that race there and looking to score good points. There is Harry Kulas now on the Garibaldi Yamaha machine in green, having a good ride there in 6th place. Nichols still 7th, Tonus now 8th, Kromov 9th. Oh, there's Charlier parking it. Goggles are off, going back to the truck. So Charlier has had a tough weekend so far this weekend, hasn't he? Not finding the Lommel sand here to his liking, I suspect.
You know, it's difficult for French guys, especially a kid from Corsica, you know, to race in those conditions. But maybe he has mechanical. I thought he charged hard yesterday, and you know, it's a learning experience for him. You know, I don't think he raced that kind of track before.
No, and you look at he started 4th yesterday, stayed there for a couple of laps in qualification, then eventually by half distance he was already down to 6th, and then a couple of crashes left him down in 10th place. So Charlier not getting any better for him today here on race day on Sunday. But Ken Roxon, he was looking forward to getting out there racing today and didn't get the best start, and that was one thing that he was suffering with in the beginning of the season, allowing the Red Bull KTMs of Marvin Musquin, Jeffrey Hurlings, and also Stephen Frossard in the beginning of the season to get away. What about your man, Gauthier Paulin, down there in 11th place? How was he feeling coming into the race today?
I think he was feeling strong. I think he rode good yesterday, made a little mistakes, but I think his lap time were good. He was fast this morning in the warm session. He was outside the top 20 at the start, so already up to 11th. I think he can maybe come back to top 7, top 6. That'd be a good race. Yeah,
another rider as well, Frossard, who's currently tied on points with Ken Roxon second, 355 points apiece, and they've only got a slender advantage over Jeffrey Hurlings in 4th place. So the likes of Stephen Frossard. In fact, I was talking to Hurlings' practice mechanic Ruben last night after qualification, and he says that Hurlings is going to take more points out of Frossard here and in Lierop than Frossard will take out of Hurlings in the hardpack races that remain in the season. I think that's a pretty true. Oh, Roxon almost off the bike there. That's just after the finish line jump. And I think that's a pretty good evaluation, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. You know, there's so many points to lose in this condition, especially with a sense specialist with like Hurlings. You know, I think he's going to be on the podium tonight. He might even win the race. You know, Frossard for him is you know, be tough to be in the top 5 today.
Yeah. Jose Boutron there being lapped by the 111, Jeffrey Hurlings. There's Remy Nygaard on the bike at Cosworth Yamaha. The Norwegian there. He's obviously coming and not looking like he's in a hurry to go out there either. So, but keeping it nice and smooth, Jeffrey Hurlings. Again, somebody said to me the only way that Jeffrey Hurlings may not win the Grand Prix this weekend is if he has a mechanical or he does something stupid. And at the moment he's doing everything right.
Yeah, I think the only question is he going to go the whole model at this...
Oh, he goes down! Yeah. So just as we say that, Hurlings goes down and throws it away. He only had a 2.5 second advantage over Marvin Musquin. He's already gone through, so too has Ken Roxon. And this is a problem now with the KTM. Can he get that bike started? Because when I was talking to his mechanic yesterday, he was saying that, oh, there you go, perfect. They actually had exercises in laying the bike down during the middle of the moto, picking it up and starting it again. He said, but the problem there is, when you do that, you already know what to do. You're a little bit more relaxed. But in a race situation, you pick the bike up, you panic, and that's when the problem starts in not getting these bikes started up. But fortunately for him, he's able to remount and hasn't lost too much time. But all importantly, though, he has thrown the lead back to his teammate, Marvin Musquin. And just behind him in the background, the second Suzuki shot on the left-hand side, Ken Roxon closing in now on our race leader, Marvin Musquin. So suddenly, with about 21 minutes to go, the battle for this MX-2 Race 1 is starting to heat up. Let's go down to pit lane.
Do you think Jeffrey was pushing too hard? That's why he just crashed then?
Probably because he's a sand track, and of course he loves sand tracks, and he wants to do his best and try to win his GP again like he did in Holland. So I guess that's the reason.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and just there's no excuses really. He just came round, and we'll probably see a slow-mo of it in a moment, but it looked like he was just fighting the front end the whole time, and then the thing just got away from him.
Yeah, it seems like he jumped a little brakey bump, and the front end went into the sand too deep, and that was it. I think it's you have to be on your game the whole motor on this track. You know, a tiny mistake makes you crash really easy.
Is that Lupino? I think possibly Lupino. So
yeah, that's Alessandro.
yeah. So Marvin Musquin then, he leads. He's got 4.6 seconds over Ken Roxon. Hurling's still in third place, but he's only just hanging on from Sean Simpson in fourth. And we have Roulant's fifth, Harry Kulas sixth, Nichols seventh, Tonus eighth, Kromhoff 9, Paulhan now 10th place. Van Horbeek 11 from Nikolai Larsen, who cased the double jump yesterday and actually smashed his face into the handlebars, split the forehead right between the just on the top of the nose. So he's riding with a bit of a headache this morning. Van Horbeek 11, Larsen 12, Frossard 13, Mel Pocock having a good ride in 14th on the bike at Cosworth Yamaha. In 15th we have Glenn Coldenhoff. Who's that? I think that might be Stefan Olsen, maybe one of our onboard cameras, wildcard this weekend. Coldenhoff down in 15th, Osborne not having a good weekend down in 16th, Mattis Caro 17th, Trist 18th, Alexander Batigue on the Martin Honda in the points for an Italian, not bad for him in 19th, and Alex Eriksson on the HM Plant KTM down in 20th. Here's a replay of Jeffrey Hurlings. And he gets, he just got on the gas, the front end picked up, and then it just came around and dropped him in between lines there, and just buried the front end. Then we saw Marvin Musquin just disappear, and it looked actually that Marvin Musquin was just starting to reel in Jeffrey Hurlings again. Oh, who's that gone down?
That was a big one.
That is a big one. One of our onboard cameras, so not sure who our onboard cameras are, but there we go, having a big old crash there. Looks like he got cross-rutted when he landed. And
I think Jeffrey made a mistake, letting the clutch go when he crashed, and he switched hands to pick up the bike. That's kind of a rookie mistake. When you crash, that's slow. You need to hold on to that clutch, and pick up the bike quick, you don't stall.
I tell you who was good at that and never afraid to let the bike go, Sebastian Tortelli. When I raced him in 96, obviously we raced together back then, and the amount of times you saw him crash, he was just hanging on to the bike, just didn't want to let it go ever, and
just hang on to the clutch, especially with those 252 shocks. When they're hot, it's tough to start.
Well, Martin Micek, he's going to be looking forward to going to Lockett next weekend for his home Grand Prix on that Casino Bonva backed TM machine, but certainly not enjoying himself out there today. Yeah, the back end gets away from him. Does he catch the tough block? No, just climbs the banking there, and just a soft crash really. A lot of the crashes that we've seen this weekend have been pretty soft anyway, but fortunately for them, nobody getting too hurt.
Yeah, because the track's so bumpy now, the speed is really down compared to the practices yesterday. So, I think track's not as fast, so the crash are not as spectacular.
No. Marvin Musquin looking like he's getting into his stride as well. 2:10.4 last time around, 2:11.6 for Ken Roxon. That gap almost 6 seconds, 5.8 to be exact, as Marvin Musquin makes his way to the Red Bull finish line to complete his 8th lap in his first MX-2 moto, a 2:09.9.
Yes, Marvin has good fitness. He proved it this year, and is running well. Maybe the top speed is not up to par to Hurlings, but we know he's going to go the old motor like this, and he showed it in the past. And it's going to be tough to beat. Roxon needs to pick it up right now.
Yeah, and the difference between the two riders, Marvin Musquin, our race leader, and that guy there, number 94 on that Taki Europe Suzuki, Ken Roxon, of course. Marvin Musquin made a great start, and he was able to control the pace. Ken Roxon didn't make a good start and was having to push very fast, very early on in the race, and suddenly now Marvin Musquin seems to have found his rhythm. He's able to settle down and relax and maybe just apply the pressure that way. Ken Roxon now having to chase to take the advantage. That will be 3 points, the difference between first and second between these top two guys, and it's harder to do that, isn't it, in Roxon's situation now?
Yeah, Roxon is, since the beginning of the year, he has having trouble with the starts. I think if he would have started in the top three all the races, he would be up there in the championship. I think, and really, to be honest, I don't think his bike is a problem. Everybody talks about the KTM being really fast, but I think his Suzuki seems like has a lot of torque and is working really well. I think it's just maybe has a timing problem in the start.
That's a tough section there, the wave section, right before we head under the Mormai Bridge down past pit lane. I think, Ken Roxon's had a better lap this time around, because it was 5.5 seconds last time around, but we just saw from another shot Marvin Musquin seemed to be being reeled in by Ken Roxon. We'll see, of course, when they come over the line. There is Marvin Musquin there.
Yeah, he's not too far. He's not too far.
I think that's 5.5 seconds. It's probably going to be in the fours, maybe 4.5, maybe 4.8, something like that. But
But in the sand, 5 seconds is nothing. A little mistake, you lose your momentum, and then the next section you can go as fast, like in those rolling bumps and stuff. So 5 seconds is pretty much maybe a second on a hard track,
Jay Paul and that up into 9th place. So he's found a way past Cyril Klein-Cromwell, who had a great qualifying race yesterday as well. Took his best qualifying race of the season, but there we go, 2:12 for Marvin Musquin and 2:10 for Ken Roczen, so down to 3.4 seconds. So you could visibly see that gap coming down, and so Ken Roczen suddenly then might have Marvin Musquin in his sights at certain parts of the track where he knows he's closing, and he'll be able to see him, and that'll,
Plus, we're gonna have lappers, like lappers, and the first guy always have a hard time with the lappers because they don't know he's coming, and like I said, this track you can. Oh, that was a hard landing again.
Big heavy landing, but you can see what he was trying to do. He was trying to land on the downside of the first whoop, the other side, and obviously over jumped a little bit. That's quite gnarly through there as well. That's a high speed part of the track here.
It's right there.
Yeah, and that's coming down again. That's not 3.4, I don't think. But Roczen now, he can see over the double jump, Marvin Musquin just disappearing around the sweeping left-hander here. I was watching here this morning, through this left-hander, there was a big hole around about the first sign there that was catching a few riders out, but everybody's safely through there. But I think we're going to go back down to pit lane in a moment, but here we go. Here's Lisa, or maybe Daniele.
He's worked so hard to get where he is today. Do you think he's going to have what it takes just to pass Marvin at the end there?
I hope so. He's looking consistent and relaxed, if you can say that, on a typical track like this. But track is really rough and so many things can happen. But I think he will try, and we will see end of the first heat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jens Johansson there, from reporting from Tech Europe Suzuki's corner. But look at Ken Roczen coming out of that, what is turn 2. His back wheel pouring the side of the bank there. Alessandro Battig it was that possibly our onboard camera that had that big off a moment ago, or it might have been Stefan Olsen, the guy that we saw dangling his goggles down by the side of the track, but down the side of his bike. But Battig there in 19th place. I'm sure Paolo Martin and Lorenzo Resta will be more than pleased with a couple of points here. He's been off injured for the last few races, has Battig, but making his return here in the tough sand of Lommel, and it is certainly tough, isn't it, David?
Yeah, it's always nice to score points in Lommel. I know, it's toughest race of the year.
Yeah. Well, is it, or is it Lira?
Yeah, both. It's difficult to say, but those two ones, like every time you get the schedule at the beginning of the year, I say, oh, we have to go to Lommel, especially for us,
coming from the south
of France, all pack. I think for the Dutch and the Belgian, they're happy. They would love to have like 6 or 7 races here, but for us, it's always tough.
A little bit better over that pyramid. In fact, they've taken the hole away at the bottom there, I noticed this morning, because yesterday on the downside of the pyramid jump, just at the base there was an artificial hole there, wasn't there? And it was catching a lot of riders out. They've filled that in this morning. So Marvin, as you saw, able to get a little bit higher, a little bit more further, and less chance of a crash at the bottom.
Yeah, I think the track crew is doing a great job. They changed that double. They're trying to fix the takeoffs with the ruts. I think they're doing a good job to keep the race safe.
Yeah. Well, Ken Roczen then on the charge. That gap now just 3.1 seconds. Lap time similar last time around. 2:12.4 for Marvin Musquin. 2 minutes 12.2 for Ken Roczen. Herlings is 14 seconds behind the leading duo. Oh, well, certainly behind Ken Roczen. Herlings in 3rd position. There's Mark Bowland, the mechanic for Ken Roczen.
And we see the lappers,
Yeah.
They're going to play a big role at the end of the moto.
Yeah, because as in the sand, the inside line initially is always the quickest, but it's also the first to get bumpy. And when you go around the inside, the bumps are shorter and sharper. And if the back marker is on the race line around the outside where it's a little bit smoother, it forces, like you say, Marvin Musquin, the first rider to approach the back markers. He has to go to the inside where he probably doesn't really want to go. And that plays into the hands of this guy here. As you see, Roczen going around the outside there. The hole's a little bit wider, the rear suspension working a little bit more smoothly. But it'll be interesting to see how much that back marker held up Marvin Musquin on that particular lap. But a heavy landing there for Roczen as he goes through that cafe turn. Marvin Musquin over the finish line, jump around about now. There he is in the distance. It was 3.1 before, to 12.4 to 11.5, so 2.3 now. And that looks like Mel Pocock just moving out of the way.
It's going to be a big mental game now. 10 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And,
like you say, 10 minutes to go under the Tecker Bridge.
we see that Marvin is playing more with the bumps, and we can see Ken is more like
riding through them.
Yeah, riding through them. Two different styles.
Yeah, and to be honest, Marvin was doing that a little bit last year. He was sort of like maybe wheelie 2, downside the next one, double over a couple more, and then...
Yeah, for him it's like a big supercross track, like a big rhythm section.
Yeah. But who's the right... Oh, I tell you what, that's coming down. 2.3 it was, about a half a lap ago. And that's the gap now, probably less than 2 seconds. So Ken Roczen being urged on here by the fans at the side of the road, at the side of the track, as he heads under the Rebutizer Bridge over the double jump that was catching so many riders out yesterday. And just a multitude of lines through here. That hole just at the side of that Love My Time banner that was catching so many riders out through practice. Stephen Frossard on the CLS Kawasaki. He's now making progress, but he's only up to 12th place. The good news for him is that Jeffrey Hurlings, who was our race leader, who's his closest challenger in the championship, he's only down in 3rd place, but that gap now 17 seconds between Roczen and Hurlings, so you've got to assume that maybe Hurlings just a little bit detuned and dejected after making that little mistake, David.
Yeah, when you crash and we pick up the bike, and mentally you can struggle, and also physically, and like I said before, I don't think Jeffrey has the fitness as Ken Roczen or Musken, so...
Back markers.
Yeah, back markers, that's, look right there, they're...
So they've got a back marker,
yeah.
One back marker each, and there you see Muscan at the inside, number 1, and there goes Roczen round the outside. Oh, and he takes the lead, does he? It's a drag race now in the next straight. But Roczen just unable to get the job done there, so now they're side by side. A big leap there for Ken Roczen, gets the power down, and Ken Roczen is our new race leader. Down through the cafe turn he goes, over the first of 2 jumps, and then it's over the Red Bull finish line jump. So 12 laps complete, Ken Roczen moves ahead of Marvin Muscan. He's our new race leader. And already, well, on the timing screen, 0.9 of a second clear. So the mental game that you were talking about a couple of laps ago, David, Marvin Muscan, what's going to be going through his mind? Because he would have been keeping an eye on that gap. That gap was always around about sort of like 4 or 5 seconds, then it started coming down, and
lap
suddenly
pros came up, 3 or 4 laps in a row. And then I thought, Ken was gonna maybe wait a little more, but it feels like he's on it. I'm sure his fitness is great, and he says, you know what, I'm out of here.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, because we've still got just over 7.5 minutes left to go.
Yeah, we have 5 or 6 laps to go, and we see fire coming out of his helmet. He wants to win, and Marvin doesn't have to win.
And look at the difference there. Marvin, like trying to pull up on the bar, just try and keep it low, and Roczen just went for the big launch, cleared a couple of holes.
Plus right away, Marvin made a mistake, go over that berm, lose a second right there.
But he also knew that Roczen was at the inside, and he had the line, so he didn't want to try and come in on him, because he would have lost out in that respect as well. So
I think for me the race is over. Marvin has 17 seconds ahead of Hurlings, and he doesn't have to win. He's going to keep some energy, maybe try to win second moto to win the overall.
Yeah. Well, that's it. But Ken Roczen, he just wants another race win. He's got, 3 race wins through 2010 so far. Marvin Muscan, on the other hand, has 13 race wins. Not a bad season, is it?
Yeah.
Jeremy Van Horbeek, is that just disappearing over the... I think it is, Van Horbeek and Frossard.
Yeah, the CLS boys going at it.
So let's give you a recap then. Ken Roczen leads from Marvin Muscan now. Hurlings still 3rd, Simpson 4th, having a good ride. Roulant still 5th, Kulas still 6th, Nichols still 7th, Paulin now in 8th place, Tonus 9th, Van Horbeek 10th, Frossard, that man on screen there in the red, on the CLS Kawasaki 183. He's down in 11th ahead of Cyril Klein-Krumhoff, Mattis Caro, Nikolai Larsen, Glenn Coldenhoff, Verbruggen, Osborne, Tries Patig, and Nick Koenberg down in 20th. Well, let's go down to pit lane with Stephen Frossard's crew.
I know Steve won the last GP in Sweden, but did you expect such a turnaround this weekend?
Yeah, we knew that before this race for Stephen very, very difficult. Last year he made no points at this race, so we were very happy when he can finish 2 times in the top 10. And then for the next GP in Loket, I think it can be again the same than Sweden.
Okay, thank you.
So Harry Nolte there, reporting from CLS. Stephen Frossard, a lot of work to do though still. He's only just behind his teammate, 3 seconds down. I would have expected Jeremy Van Hoorbeek to have been a little bit better this weekend though, wouldn't you, David?
Yeah, he's a great center-radio, but I don't think he had the start he wanted. He's trying hard, and his lap time, his best lap time is not quite up to par, 2:13 compared to a 2:05 in Michigan. So I think maybe having some troubles.
Yeah. But best lap 2:06 for Roxon. But his last lap 2:08.5 and Marvin Musquin 2:12.5. So
it's great for Ken to be like 2 seconds off his best lap, after 30 minutes of racing.
Yeah, with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And as you say, he's got a 5-second advantage now over Marvin Musquin. So it's his race to lose now. He just needs to stay focused. And
it seems like it's still charging really hard, and he looks really confident, taking some chances right there. But he's riding Ray, great technique, pretty fun to watch actually.
Osborne been lapped and just about to come under being lapped by the number 1 Marvin Musquin as well. But going back to what you were saying as well, Roxon still charging. It's almost the way you've got to be though, isn't it, in the sand? If you start backing it off too early, the suspension works differently, and then your mind goes, and then you just make a mistake.
Yeah,
and then it's
basically the faster you go in the sand, the best it is.
The easier the bike will go through it. As we look at some good slow-mo images there of that Tech Europe Suzuki just cutting its way through this tough Lommel sand here.
Well, 4 laps to go, basically.
That Tecker corner in the background, that's where Hurlings went around the outside of Marvin Musquin, probably like lap 3, lap 4 of the race, something like that. But Hurlings, where is he? We're still waiting for him to come over the line. The gap between first and second, Ken Roxon and Marvin Musquin, almost 6 seconds now. And Jeffrey Hurlings now, 30 seconds down almost on Marvin Musquin. So Simpson still having a good ride in 4th. No change though in the top few positions. It's still Roxon, Musquin, Hurlings, Simpson, Roulant, Kulas, Nichols, Paulin 8, Tonus 9, and Van Hoorbeek 10 with Frossard 11th. And Klein Kromhoff 12th. Mattis Caros, MVRD Suzuki is down in 13th ahead of the SRS Honda of Larsen. Verbruggen, birthday boy today, 23 years old. He was on the podium overall last year, 3rd overall he was. But just returning actually from after recovering from the Epstein-Barr virus. So saw him yesterday and said not the best place to come to when you're suffering that kind of debilitating illness.
Yeah, it's tough. There's a lot of riders. I think the schedule is so tough. They're training a lot. And traveling. So it's tough to get the virus actually.
Yeah. I was impressed with this guy, Sean Simpson, yesterday in qualification. Look at him closing in on Jeffrey Hurlings as well.
Yeah, we have 3 guys maybe racing for the podium in the moto, 3 KTMs.
Well, not that many Grand Prix here actually. The first one was only back in 1990, despite having a Motocross of Nations here in the 1980s. The first GP was only a 250 Grand Prix in 1990, and in MX-1, MX-2, we've only been coming here the last 2.8, 2.09, so not that much. But in 2008 in MX-2, KTMs were the first 6 positions overall in the Grand Prix. So KTM got good pedigree around here, but those Red Bull KTMs are pretty good bikes as well, aren't they? They've got good strong engines. And they're showing it again here today.
They have a lot of experience of setting up the bike for those conditions too, and I think that's also really important. There's some teams there that don't have that experience, and they're still learning about setting up the bike for those conditions.
What about Gauthier Paulin? They're down in 7th position now. Obviously, you're working with him in some kind of capacity. What are you actually doing for him? Are you just with him on the weekends, or are you helping him in the week?
Actually, I'm kind of not too much with him anymore. The season it's going, so I basically took him December 1st, and for 4 months we trained, and
he broke his leg.
Yes, we came to Belgium. We walked in the sand. He went to the Dutch Championship, and he beat actually Erlings in Mill, and that was a great achievement for him in the sand after a disaster Lommel race last year. So just training him in the winter to get him ready.
Okay. Well, as we're just looking at these two, I just noticed on the timing screen we've got a red arrow. Jake Nichols has crashed out of 6th position and is now down in 16th place. So that means that's why Paulin's moved up to 7th. Caro now 12th, Verbruggen 13. So Jake Nichols, who had a good qualifying yesterday, ended up in 9th place in the qualifying heat. Good steady ride, was looking having a good bunch of points in his first moto. He's obviously made a mistake somewhere out on the track in the closing stages, so maybe a little bit of fatigue just starting to creep in with one or two of the riders. But Sean Simpson trying his best to keep, leg comes off the side of the bike there, but trying to keep Jeffrey Hurlings, I thought he was short there, trying to keep Hurlings in his sights. But it's not going to be easy.
Sean needs to get some good results lately before the end of the season, because he has to sign a new deal somewhere, you know, and I think that's really important to be in the front.
I think there's a lot of riders like that, both MX-1 and MX-2 deal time is just around the corner. A lot of guys out of contract at the moment, and already around a paddock you hear all the stories of possible musical chairs and whatever, and like you hear one deal being done somewhere else and then somebody else says actually no, he's going here, so too early to say.
Yeah, you know, in this sport you're only as good as your last race, so you know the guys with no contract, they need to get on it and, you know,
pull the finger out.
Yeah.
Well, Roxon, he's almost 6 seconds clear now of Marvin Musquin. Hurlings looks to have weathered the storm and opened up a little bit of a gap between himself in third and his teammate Sean Simpson in fourth place. Simpson, of course, one of those riders rumoured to be out of a deal, as you say, and needs to start getting some results in the second half of this season, because including this race we have just 5 Grand Prix to go. The next round, of course, in 1 week's time in the Czech Republic at Loket, so join us there for that one if you can. Then we have a weekend off before we head to Brazil at Campo Grande, and that of course is round 13, and then we have 2 races back to back, September 5th and September 12th, of course, Lirop and Fermo in Italy. So still a lot of laps to be raced, a lot of points up for grabs, and despite Marvin Musquin's comfortable lead at the top of the championship at the moment, the championship's not done until it's no longer mathematically possible for the second guy to win it. David, you were a runner-up in is it 97 or 98?
98,
in 125 or 250?
125, yeah. And I got third the following year in 250, yeah.
And I'm just trying to think now, actually, 90, when you finished second, who was the world champion that year?
Coyote.
Yeah, Coyote, three titles and a bounce, that's right. Simpson's gone, almost went down.
Rollins.
And so yeah, Joel Roulant, with 2 laps to go, Roulant just suddenly found a big turn of speed there. He's only 2 seconds down on Simpson, so Simpson making 1 or 2 mistakes, and Roulant's through, and Sean Simpson, no reply. So Roulant, much to the delight of the Belgian crowd here, just on the edge of the podium, and if he keeps pushing like that, who knows, he might even take Jeffrey Hurlings in the closing 2 laps of this MX-2 moto. But
he's surely going for it, you know,
definitely.
And that kid has been improving a lot. You know, he got second in
Spain.
In Spain, like on an outback track, and for a scent specialist, that's really, really nice. And
also, Saint Jean and also Spain. So 2 times second on the podium this year for Joel Roulant. And Jackie Martins, the Nissan team manager, they see Simpson just getting hung up on that turn.
But those guys still use the 2010 KTMs.
Yeah.
They don't have the factory bike like Simpson, for example. They're using 2011 already.
Yeah.
So seems like his fitness is really good. Just keep charging, and he's the fastest guy on the track right now.
Well, yeah, Joel Roulant's another rider, certainly in MX-2, who's been on the podium here, second overall in 2009 with a 3-2 scorecard. Of course, it was Marvin Musquin who was victorious. Dennis Verbruggen was third that day. And of course, he was 6th overall as well, with a 4th and a 5th back in 2008. And he was the 6th place finisher in a top 6 KTM clean sweep of the overall podium that year. But Ken Roczen making it look easy here in this first MX-2 race. Just about a half a lap to go.
What a performance.
It's been a great performance. Just needs to keep it nice and clean through here, and he does so. Probably the most difficult point of the track in the closing stage of the race, but look at him just carving his line exactly where he wants to go. He's got Jose Boutron on the Burstfoon Suzuki just ahead of him, just about to be lapped. And
really amazing to see like all his riding style and his fitness for a 16-year-old. You know, like it's so achieved already.
Yeah,
you know?
But don't you think also it's kind of cool that last year we were talking about Ken Roczen, you know, talented, 15 years old, he wins the Grand Prix in Germany, and he takes a couple of race wins, and then suddenly, we're not going to see another 15-year-old sensation. Less than 12 months later, Jeffrey Hurlings steps up to the plate, wins 2 Grand Prix, takes 3 moto wins so far in 2010, and you can expect for sure possibly another race.
I thought at a 15-year-old you would race 85cc, you know, not MX-2 World Championship.
I was on a 125 when I was 15. But obviously back in the UK, not doing Grand Prix back then.
I was struggling in under 18 in France, you know, like getting 12 or 10 or something. You know? Now they're winning GPs.
Absolutely. Well, there's Ken Roczen. Just a couple corners to go. Heads past his pit crew up there, just in the hospitality suite to his left. Rounds the final corner. The point where he passed Marvin Musquin, salutes the crowd over at the cafe under the Red Bull Bridge, and no big elaborate celebrations, but Ken Roczen takes the checkered flag for victory number 1 here and 25 points. There is Marvin Musquin. He comes out of the final corner now, and as you say, David, he's just going to be happy to take 22 points because he knows it's all about the second race for the overall victory, but the bigger picture is... And Sean Simpson takes 5th. But Ken Roczen, though, he's all smiles, and Tech Europe Suzuki are as well, because that's 25 points. That's another race win for him. He's taken race wins in Catalonia and, of course, Teushenthal, and second time out in Uddevalla. So, David, Ken Roczen having a great ride there, apart from all the dirt around his face. Barely looks like he's broken a sweat. So again, says something about the level of fitness this kid has.
Yeah, it's...
Ken, you didn't have a good start, but you didn't lose the hopes, did you?
No, I mean, I was awesome. The start was not as good as yesterday, but you know, I knew I'm physically really fit, and I knew I could do it. And but now I'm focusing on the second race. I just want to do the same thing again, and to my sponsors, I would like to say all of them thanks.